Hello everyone. In the last video, we saw how we could connect to our database, which is in Azure from our function. In this video, we are going to be seeing how we can modify a database from our function in Visual Studio. So I'll be sharing my screen right away. I hope you can see my Visual Studio screen. So this was the function that we use to connect to the database. That's like to send a GET request to the database. So now we want to be able to modify the database, which is hosted on Azure from our function. So what I'll be doing is I will right click over here. I would click to add a new function, Azure function. I'll call this, since we called the other one get data, I'll call this one let me call it create let me call it yeah, let me call it create data. Yeah, let me call it create data. Or let me call it add data, since we'll be adding a constantly. Add data. Then we choose HTTP trigger. Authorization level is a function. Then we'll click to add. You can see there are so many other options over here. So after doing that, you can see the default code. So we just need to clean it up a little bit. One of the first things that we need to do is, because we are going to be dealing with post requests alone, we can remove the option for gets over here. Since we're working with posts, we want to add data to our database. Then another thing we are going to be doing is, so let me remove this default content. I'll be removing this and I'll be replacing it with, so my phone just started ringing some few seconds ago, but unfortunately I can't pick up my phone because I do not want to cut off this video. Hopefully I'll get finished on time and will be able to pick up my phone. So we have this. So this simple code is just for to be able to add content to our database. And if you can recall, in our previous video, I showed you the structure of the database and we saw how it works. So we are essentially just using parameterized queries to add content to the database. So let me just quickly replace the connection string with what I have over here. Let me just take everything here. Yeah, and delete this. So that's the connection string. Let me see any other updates. Yeah, I think we are good to go. That's basically it. So let me save this for our data. Then I'll first of all try to run it. Is there any need to run it locally? So let me just publish. Let me just publish. My phone is still ringing. Wow. Yeah, so while this is publishing, so let's still be clear about what we are really doing. We have a database which is hosted on Azure. We have a function service which is also on Azure. And we have our functions that we are creating from um, Visual Studio. Yeah, so this is it's almost done. It's almost done. It's almost done. So I'll be sharing my Azure portal very soon. I'll be sharing my Azure portal. So while this is ongoing, let me run this so that we can just see what the output looks like. If we wanted to run it locally, that's we are not using, if we do not want to use the function service. So it's running. So let me share the output screen. We share. Yeah. So you can see we have the URL to add data, which will be what we are going to be using when we to modify the database, to add content to the database. And we can see that we still have the one for to get data. But I do not want to work with this locally. I want to work with it from the Azure portal. So our publish is done. So it has been published, as we can see. So what I'm going to do now is I'll be going to my Edge browser. Yeah, we're going to my Edge browser, and let's pick, this is the function app. So in a function app, you can have several functions. So I've clicked on that function app. Now, previously we had the first function was to get data, which was to get data, function one also. So now we should have two functions. So you can see the second function, which we just added, which is to add data. So I'll click on this now. Yeah, so let's get the URL for that data, for that function. So I've copied the URL. So we can't, unlike the last one that we tested it from our browser, because this is a post request, because we are trying to add data, we need to use, we can't use the default browser settings. So we are going to be using Postman. So I'll be sharing my Postman. Hopefully everything works well. So I'll change this to a post request. I will copy this, I'll paste this rather. Then I'll go to the body, I'll make it raw. Then now, let me see, let me just copy what I have here. And let me, first ID, let me make this one 8. So if I should run, before I add one, let me just show us what it is currently. So this is the normal get get function, the get request. So let's run it and let's see. Yeah, so you can see over here that the last value here is 7. So now let's go back to the post, and now we're adding this one as 8. So let me call this AWS cloud um, cloud architects. Or let me get the code for, okay, let's just use something random. So let me give it 4.1 for course ID 8. So let's see if our post request will work. So you can see that it says course added. Now let's go back to our um get request, and let's see if it will be reflected. Take note that the last one was 7. What we added was 8, and it's AWS. All the previous ones were all Microsoft based. And if you scroll down, we can now see this 8. So we can see that it's truly modifying the database, which is hosted on Azure. And we can see that our function is really working. So we've been able to cover how we can create functions to get content from a database which is on Azure. That's an SQL database which is hosted somewhere else. And we can also use our functions. We can create functions to modify a database, to add content to a database. So 2 exercises that you can try out is how to create functions to delete content from a database, and how to create functions to modify an existing database. So within a single function app, you can have several functions, and each of your functions can have they can be addressing different aspects of your applications. So that's something to take note of. So I hope this video has been very illustrative and quite useful for you. We'll be ending it here. In our next video, we are still going to dwell on serverless computing, and we'll see some more advanced tasks that we can do around it.